Welcome back to the Whatnauts review show number 273. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa, how are you? Happy October.
I'm doing good. It is October 1. If the 1st is on a Sunday, that means we're getting a Friday the 13th this month.
We are. Yeah,
that's absolutely how you can tell ahead of time if you don't have a convenient calendar to look at, or if you have trouble counting all the way to 13.
Right. Yeah. Like me. Trouble counting all the way. What's after 10? Crap.
10,
no.
2, 10, 3.
Yeah, because Final Fantasy X-2. That's what happened with that game, right? Anyways, happy October. Spooky season has begun. I think later today, my partner and I might start getting our Halloween decorations out. Next time we're at Target or Spirit Halloween or what have you, starting to add to our collection of spooky decorations.
Yeah. There's good stuff at Target. There's really good stuff at Michael's. Michael's has got several different flavors of Halloween decoration collections.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have some year-round decorations because you've seen our living room. It has that like tarot theme, like stars and cards and stuff like that. So we have on our front door this like psychic sign, like come in to get your rating, and it's meant to be a Halloween decoration, but we just have that up all year round.
Absolutely.
It's good stuff. What else have you been up to this weekend? How are you?
I'm doing okay. Seen some movies, gonna see more. This is the same thing I say every time. The answer to the question, how are you, is movies. I am movies.
Stuck in a loop.
I go to the theater like every weekend.
We also went to the movies this weekend. We saw The Creator.
Yes. I think that's what I'm seeing this afternoon.
Phenomenal.
Good.
It was very good. I loved it. It is the most Kyle movie there can be.
Truly. I
loved it. Yeah. Good stuff. I also saw, and I keep forgetting the name of it. I watched it on Netflix. The new Wes Anderson short film, the Henry Sugar, whatever it is.
Yes. Something story of Henry Sugar. Yes, I also watched that.
Yeah. So that was an interesting one, to say the least, as well. I loved what they did with all of the sets and just how it's constantly moving and changing. And it was fun.
Yes,
it was good.
it's I love all the visual, the clear artifice of that. It is clearly a play. A man is handing you a prop. Ray Fiennes is back again to play another character.
Yep. Good stuff. Spooky season, as we just mentioned, is here. And of course, on the Whatnauts review show, we like to have October be filled with all kinds of spooky, scary things. All month, it's going to be horror here on the show. And Melissa, you put in a request. You were hey, Kyle, let's do some Archie horror on this. A long time ago here on the show, we covered some Archie horror. We did Sabria the Teenage Witch, or I guess the actual book is The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and it was fantastic. We loved that one a lot. But I had always been like, man, Afterlife with Archie. You need to check that one out. Melissa, you are missing out. Go check it out.
You can't say that I am missing out on something when it took you 5 years to pitch it to me. You had the opportunity.
Right thing.
This was on you. You could have done this at any point in the past. I did, because I'm like, why haven't we gotten to this yet? And I don't know this world well enough to come up with the pitches myself. I had to assign this to you.
Yeah. So yeah, I pitched a few different things in the Archie horror kind of comics line. And yeah, you ended up picking Afterlife with Archie, which I also think is perfect that we are discussing it now because it is the 10th anniversary of Afterlife with Archie. 2013 in October. Yeah, October 2013 is when the issue number 1 came out.
Okay, I was seeing a 2016 date on a lot of these comics. Was this a series that was like published over a lot of years?
Yes. So remember how with the kind of similarly with Sabrina, like we got to read that first volume, and then I think there was like an issue or two after that wasn't collected in that first volume. I think since we did that episode, maybe another issue or two came out, but like that full second volume is not out yet. The same is true of Afterlife with Archie here. So we read all 10 issues that are currently out. I think the last one came out in 2016. But this second volume entitled Betty R.I.P. is not finished. There's 2 issues that are still like they haven't come out yet. There's cover art, but that's it. And so it's not like there is no collected volume 2 yet. There's only volume 1, and then if you can find the extra single issues. And part of that is because of its own success. Afterlife with Archie came out. It was a wild hit. And so, yeah, they immediately launched into the chilling adventures of Sabrina. And because that was also a hit, too, they were like, what about a TV show? Let's make Riverdale. And so they made Riverdale, and the guy that writes these comics started to develop the show, and then that was a big hit. This is
truly the definition of too many irons in the fire.
Right, yeah.
I'm going to partially start something, revamp it immediately, take a long time to go back to the original one, do a spinoff, do a TV show of the spinoff.
Yeah, so it's just kind of wild, the ride that it has taken. And I know this year specifically, like the Archie horror line put out something new. They put out some like single issue one shot thing. I don't remember what it was called, but I heard the comic book podcast that I listened to this week being like, it's out in stores right now. Here you go. So yeah, they've done a number of like smaller, like single issue one shots and stuff like that, but no more, at least yet, of like Afterlife with Archie or Sabrina or stuff like that. So here we are. But Archie, Afterlife with Archie. So I own the first volume physically, but I had also not read any of the other stuff. So I knew the first half of this, but all this, the second half of this was brand new to me here, which was an interesting thing to write. There were some things in there that I was not expecting. But this is your first time checking it out. So Melissa, what did you think of Afterlife with Archie?
First off, I have very little context for Archie to begin with. I know it on sight. I know it's this like teenage Bobby Sox American Graffiti good time. I watched like the first 12 episodes of Riverdale once. We read The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Volume 1, a couple years ago. And I saw that Josie and the Pussycats movie from like 2001. Which is very different, but very fun on its own. That was all I knew. So I am reading this, also trying to piece together the lore of Archie itself prior to zombies and dark magic being introduced.
Gotcha.
Like, who's a Reggie? What does a Reggie do? All of this is new to me.
Yeah, it's so I also it did not grow up writing like the original style Archie. They're still making them. If you want like original style Archie, no for 2023, it's out
Right.
there.
Vanilla is still available.
Right? Yeah. And I did not grow up with that, but I think it is, for better or for worse, filled with a lot of things that have become a trope, right? And it is the like like there's Archie and there's Betty or Veronica. Who will he pick? No one knows. He's just gonna waffle between both of them. His best friend Jughead is there. It's like you said, this just like American graffiti kind of good time Americana. Yay high school, right?
Yay high school.
And that's kind of all you need to know. Like when they introduce the principal of the school, like your platonic idea of a principal is exactly what he is.
He is large. He is pointing.
Yeah, exactly. But it really is something that you usually can just kind of pick up and understand instantly. And I think I don't know about you, but I feel like you can still kind of get most of that in the first issue or two here of Afterlife with Archie, but in the same way that you get those tropes in the regular Archie, I think you can very quickly get all the same stuff of like what's happening here in Afterlife with Archie, like in that same way, which is neat. It's like, oh, this is horror Archie, and everything you know about quote unquote horror will happen in this.
Yeah, I was impressed. This is a fun read overall. That's my review. I was really impressed at the depth of horror knowledge that was in these comics. There's really specific references to things like Pet Cemetery and Night of the Living Dead. Like they call things out like with specific lines pulled from these other titles. There's a really nice Shining takeoff that I loved.
Absolutely.
I think it knows its stuff. It is pretty effective as a horror title.
Yeah, I agree. It is kind of just lightning in a bottle, right? It is the like, you mean zombie apocalypse in Riverdale? This is gonna be weird. I don't know. And then you're sitting there like, oh, they're actually going for it. Like they don't hold back with some stuff, like the spookiness, the scariness, the like even like the underlying evil behind some of the characters, or the encroaching doom that is happening. You like they go for it. They swing for the fences, and I think because they're mixing in so many different things, it kind of becomes its own new thing, right? They're like, it's like, okay, this is actually working. It's not like, okay, I see, it's just a spoof on this one thing, but it is its own thing, and it's just like, this is fun. I like this. This is cool.
Yeah. This doesn't feel like a Simpsons treehouse of horror where it's just a temporary genre homage. This does get a lot of depth to it. It does feel like its own ongoing thing. Like the Afterlife with Archie line does feel as serious and legitimate as original vanilla Archie.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fascinating for me to read the second half, because there's some inclusion of just things that I was not expecting, different types of horror. The volume 1 very much is like the zombie apocalypse stuff. Like the main plot focuses on that, and then that was all I read for years and years and years. And so when I picked up, what was it, issue 7, I think, which is the first one that's not in that first volume, or 6, it kind of switches gears a little bit, and I was not expecting that. gets more into some like HP Lovecraft and stuff like that. And it was just I was like, oh, okay, not what I was expecting here in this, but fascinating still. So we had a good time. It was a blast. Sucks that it's not done and it just kind of ends on a cliffhanger, kind of. It's interesting because it feels like this could be the ending of a volume where it left off.
Yes.
And then volume 3 could have also been entitled Betty R.I.P. But yeah, it just knowing that it was supposed to be 2 more issues and they aren't out yet, and we don't know when they're coming. Is just who knows?
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear from a person in the future who gets to read all of the complete Afterlife with Archie in one sitting and what their experience will be.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when issue 1 started coming out, it was like new ongoing series, and we were like, "This is amazing! It's going to be here once a month, every month for the next however long." And then it lasted like 5 months, 6 months, and then it was like, and there's more, right? And they're like, well, yeah, we'll get to it eventually. And we're just like, all right.
I mean, if there are people who have followed like Archie vanilla since I don't even know when it started. Archie seems like
a long time ago, I'm sure.
Is it literally from the 50s or is it like Happy Days where it's from the 70s, but it's supposed to be the 50s?
Let's see. Archie comics. The wait, what? No. Go back. Founded 1939 is when
Archie
comics. 1939.
But like, has Archie, him, the boy, been around since is Archie as we know him and Betty and Veronica and Jughead, has that all been around since 1939?
1946 is when it looks like. Says the Andy Hardy movies were an inspiration for Goldwater to have a comic book about a relatable, normal person. Teenage Archibald Chick and Jajarus debuted with Betty Cooper and Jughead Jones in Pep Comics number 22 in December 1941. But then I guess that like Archie proper of what we know it today must have been like 1946 or something like that.
I feel like we talked about this once. I feel like I have deja vu because I feel like I have said before, like my dad was born in 1954 and Archie is old enough to have been 13 years old and babysat my baby dad. I feel like that's how I have fit Archie into the timeline of my life before. Archie is that old. He could have babysat little chunky baby Greg.
Yeah, he's been around for a long time for sure. But yeah, I just, man,
older than Spider-Man. Far older than Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's still in high school, college age. He's like 30 something right now in modern comics.
But you kind of think about an Archie Andrews and a Peter Parker as sort of contemporaries. They feel alike, except Archie can't swing any webs or climb up any walls or anything. But like to learn that would we have had a Peter Parker without an Archie existing and being successful for 20 years? Who knows?
Yeah, who knows indeed. Cool. Yeah, I guess a brief plot synopsis of Afterlife with Archie here so we can get started is it is the zombie apocalypse has come to Riverdale by way of a terrible accident. Hot Dog, which is Jughead's beloved dog, got hit by a car. And to save him, they bring him to one Sabrina Spellman to heal him, and she brings him back from the dead. That's not the only thing she brings back. Dun dun dun. And yeah, that's how the zombie apocalypse starts. Hot dog bites Jughead, Jughead bites Ethel, so on and so forth. And of course, it's like the night of the school dance, and right. So everyone is in one place in the high school. Yeah, and things go to hell after that, as one might say.
Yep.
And then yeah, it's your typical like zombie apocalypse style stuff. If you've seen The Walking Dead, if you've seen George Romero's zombie movies, it's that stuff. So good fun with that. Good fun with that. Is there any other, like, that's kind of the inciting of event. Do you have stuff to
I have another question. I have another Archie history question.
Go for it.
If I went into a comic book shop and I asked 10 people, not which one do you like better, but who do you think is the better match for Archie, Betty or Veronica? What are they saying? What is the average?
What are the kids saying nowadays?
Right. What do the comics community think about this eternal struggle? Because to me, it's like he's such a clear match for Betty. But then there must be some sort of unique dynamic he has with Veronica for Veronica to still be in the running after 70 years.
There is, yeah. I don't have my finger on the Archie pulse. I know also kind of around the time that they launched this stuff, they did in like an updated Archie comics in like a newer modern art style. I've also heard very good things about that. It is similar stuff to Riverdale, but not as like dark and supernatural as Riverdale tends to be. More so like actual teen drama in that one. But I've heard all sorts of takes. I've heard, what if he's like what if they're polyamorous, or like what
Good
if
answer.
they like do yeah, that I don't know. I think who was it? Was it Jughead? I think in one of those comics, someone, potentially Jughead, came out as asexual.
Yes, I remember this.
I don't remember that. So I like that they are exploring some of that stuff in some of the more modern things. But old fashioned Archie is still just up to his same old antics of, I don't know, you both are great.
Right. And it's this sort of agreement that, well, until he decides, we'll just both date him. We'll both trade off. We're aware we are both candidates. We're in like a group job interview here.
You have him on A days. I have him on B days.
We've shared custody of Archie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I just curious. I got to learn more. I got to find who is an Archie fan. Poll all my cousins and neighbors. Who knows the most about this?
You might be interested in those like modern day Archie comics. I know, at least for manga, you tend to not like the high school drama stuff.
True.
But I feel like this is a different kind of vibe to what you get in the manga stuff.
There is something quaint to me about the like 2 straws and a milkshake. We're at like a neon lit roller skate diner, like that whole era of things that I find like intriguing. I like that's when like teenagerhood arrived. Those teens were like the first teens that were truly teens and not just kids who like weren't really adults yet. Like it wasn't teenage the number, it was teenage the movement, the vibe, the aesthetic, the idea. and I am intrigued by the era of the proto-teens.
There you go. Good stuff. Well, with that, I think we will take a quick break for some housekeeping. And when we get back, we will dig into the grave of Afterlife with Archie. We'll be right back. Here at the Whatnauts, we make multiple different shows.
So I was just looking up details for my pitches,
so we would love it if you
and I got to the third movie.
If you enjoy our shows,
and I'm like, I don't know for sure where you can even get this thing without having some sort of fancy premium subscription. I was like, surely there's got to be a place you can rent it for like $6.
Exclusive podcast,
and I don't know. Like, it wasn't apparent to me after like a one-page scroll. So do you want me to pitch you this mysterious third thing, or do you just want 2 pitches?
Thank you so much. It means the world to us. You can find out more information on our website, whatnauts.com, as well as your favorite podcasting platform of choice. When you type in the Whatnauts, all of our shows will pop up right there. Just don't forget to give us a nice rating and review if you like the shows. You can also find us on YouTube and Twitch for video versions of the shows, trailer reactions, and live streams. And
it's a movie I've seen before, and I remember being difficult to get back then. I'm sad this movie isn't more readily available.
/store to pick up some merch today. All right, we are back. Once again, a big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. We love you a lot. It means a ton. This month on the Pilots Club Spooky Month, the amazing Screw on Head is what we are talking about. I watched it this morning before we got on to record this podcast. We are recording our podcast on it immediately after this. So be on the lookout for the amazing Screw on Head, which is a pilot for a television show that never really made it to air. I don't think it was on Sci-Fi, produced by Brian Fuller, based off a Mike Mignola comic of Hellboy fame. It's an interesting one. I'm excited to talk about this for sure. And of course, more Paul Giamatti. So
more! A third time in a month.
Yeah, exactly.
We always shout out our most recent and immediately forthcoming Pilots Club episodes, but I want to mention one we did last year, which was the pilot for a YouTube fan series called Mystery Incorporated. That is a supernatural teen drama Scooby-Doo. Very relevant to Afterlife with Archie.
Felt a lot like Riverdale. Has very similar vibes for sure. So yeah, that was a good one. Good fun one. Okay, let's see here. What else is on the docket for housekeeping? So right here on the review show last week, speaking of Mike Mignola, we continued our coverage of Hellboy. We read volumes 4 through 6. This has been our end of the month specials that we've been doing. So we will continue to talk about more Hellboy at the end of this month, as well as the end of next month. And get those original Hellboy comics underneath our belt. I've never read Hellboy before, so it's been an interesting journey, to say the least. I'm excited.
Good. Yeah, I'm happy I've read some important comic icons for the first time this year. Hellboy and Archie.
Yep, absolutely. Over on the Captain's Log this past week, we got to talk about how come there aren't more striped ice cream, more Neapolitan ice cream. Like, why there's Neapolitan and then the other one that you like remembered, Spumoni, and that's it. But why aren't there more? It's a conspiracy.
Why aren't we adding more stripes? It's not a conspiracy. I'm just disappointed with the lack of work ethic to try and add a 4th striped Neapolitan after all these years.
The government is holding us back.
No, I just get it in there, mix it up. People are ready for a 4th flavor stripe in Neapolitan.
We talked about that. We talked about some Disney on Ice, some wild and crazy movies that we saw. I also got to watch Unicorn Warriors Eternal, which is Gendy Tartakovsky's new cartoon. So all sorts of stuff happening over there. And last but not least, something we also talked about over on the Captain's Log this past week, something I want to mention once again right here, right now for housekeeping. Currently on YouTube, we are at 664 subscribers. Guys, it's spooky month. It's Halloween. Two more. We need 2 more subscribers
we're
on our YouTube.
All the good spooky stuff. Sabrina's here. Sabrina, please summon us 2 more subscribers so we can reach a 666.
Yes, it has to happen this month. I'm not manifesting it. You're right. I'm summoning it. Exactly. 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 So good stuff with that. Mm-hmm. But that is about it for housekeeping. So I say we get into spoilers for Afterlife with Archie. All right. Melissa, where do you want to start with this book?
I want to talk about the art. We didn't mention the art before, but this is a really good looking book. And what I like about it is that it is frequently monochromatic. Like a lot of individual panels or pages will just be like all in blues or all in purples or all in mauves or something. Or it'll just have like 1 or 2 accent colors. Like they really do a lot with just the line work and the shadows and very few colors in these books.
Like color to light the scene that sets the mood for the scene. Yeah, works really, really well in a strange way. The Hellboy comics, Dave Stewart, who has been the longtime colorist for Mike Mignola's Hellboy, not the first one, but he often will use these like simple flat colors that aren't necessarily lighting, but it is like the skin tones of these things, and it like in a weird way these flat colors start to feel like textures, or you start to like read into them where there is no actual texture in them. These are flat colors but in like lighting sense, right? Like I got all these like neon lights behind me and stuff. If I was like all awash in like red or stuff like that, that's what they're doing with this. And yeah, really sets the tone in this for sure. Francesco Francavilla on art. I'm not sure who the colorist is. Let me see if I can look this up as we are talking. But yeah, they work really, really nicely. Let's see, Afterlife with Archie.
There's some nice panel structures. There's one page in this comic that might be the single most impressive single page we have ever encountered to date.
Yeah?
Which is the page where Archie has to kill his zombie dad. And it's it's like 15 panels or something. All these like equal sized grid panels. And it's this big splash image of him like with the axe or bat or whatever it is he has, like about to smash his dad on the ground. But then over kind of intersecting over that, there's like him entering the room where he sees his dad, and then all these memories of like, him and his dad getting ice cream, him and his dad at a parade, his dad teaching him how to shave, just all of that in like 15 panels, just sort of overlaid this image of violence.
The book does an amazing thing with not only like the tone has been set with the colors, but then with the like what they're showing you in the panels, what they're not showing you, all of that stuff is also very effective. Something else that I want to add to that is that like as you could tell kind of from the plot synopsis, like the inciting event is violence against an animal, right? It is this dog that has been hit by a car. There is another moment in there that you think it's like, oh no, there's going to be more violence against this animal. Don't do it. Like all of this stuff. And then something else happens that you're like on one hand, you're relieved at, right? That like, oh, okay, good. They won't have to like fight this dog or kill this dog here. But something else happens that is equally as gruesome and as heartbreaking. And it like they had the opportunity to be like to get these emotions in what I consider to be very cheap, right? It's like, you killed the dog. Like, come on. Like, of course I'm gonna feel some type of way. But they get so close to that line and then they sidestep it. And then it's like, but that's just equally just as heartbreaking. What are you doing?
Or you think Archie's dog, Vegas. First time I've met Vegas. Didn't know Archie had a dog. He's a good boy. He goes to his house to check on his parents. And he thinks his dog has turned. But no, that's Hot Dog. Hot Dog has like found his way to Archie's house. And Vegas like jumps in front, like jumps between Hot Dog and Archie and is like, I will protect you. I will fight this zombie dog so that Archie can get away. And they have these text bubbles of like what Vegas is thinking in this sort of simplified, like he refers to Archie as Archie Master all in one word, and he's like, fight, escape, run, go Archie Master, love Archie Master.
Yeah, live Archie Master.
Yes.
And it's just like, no, Vegas, what are you doing?
But the actions of the dog are so effective. Like the panels where you see its eyes, like I feel like you don't even need those word balloons. Like you can understand without a thought bubble knowing what the dog is feeling and doing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so effective in that stuff. And that is, I think, one of the reasons why when I first read this, and I'm sure you felt the same way, like just surprised at like how, like, oh, like they're not like, this is not like a spoof on a zombie like this is it. Like they're not holding that back here. Like they really are. Like, yeah, and shortly after that is when Archie then had like his dad had already turned. His mom was locked up in that one room to save herself. And then, yeah, the dad walks in and it's just like, I'm going to have to kill my dad, aren't I? And it's just like, fuck, man. And yeah, he has these like flashback like memories. And as he's killing him is like also saying like, I love you, Dad. Like, I know, like, this isn't you. So.
Right. And he's killing his dad so that his mom doesn't have to. So his mom never has to see any of that.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it's just heartbreaking and bloody and gory and it's full on. It's a horror book. It's not holding back at all. Now I'm starting to sound like a broken record, but still, it's good.
Yeah. The dog's a good example of how the book changes perspective frequently. I think that's one of its greatest strengths is getting you inside the head of all of these different characters. And I really like a couple issues in, everybody has fled to Lodge Manor and they're all hiding there at Veronica's big mansion. And there's a whole issue from the point of view of her butler, Smithers, just talking about his history. Like, my father was the butler for the lodges, like in a very Alfred Pennyworth sort of way. Yes. Like, it is my legacy to be with this family, to take care of this family. Like, this is my history with them. And this is what I see in them. And this is what I see in all of these people who have suddenly come to the mansion. And it's like, you know, a butler should be like seen and not heard. Like, he's just very, very quietly tiptoeing around as a classic old-fashioned butler would be wont to do. He sees and hears everything, but you don't really know he's there. He's supposed to be invisible. So you just see him like kind of not in a sinister way, but just sort of like checking in on how is everybody, just sort of this objective observer kind of removed from everything,
But
looking in on like all.
To interrupt real quick, you said not in a sinister way, but with them playing with so many different horror tropes, it is also like there's a teen pool party in this giant mansion and they're locked inside, and here's the butler that is like seen but not seen, but like always there. They have the security room where he can watch them all, and it is the like he could be a murderer.
It could be sinister if this was another type of horror story, like if it was a whodunit instead of a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah,
he might be a more suspicious character, but as soon as you start hearing from him, he's immediately so empathetic and so tragic that I was thinking not like this man is a threat, but like this man could die. We spend one issue with Smithers and then he dies, maybe. He's still sticking around. We still have Smithers. I'm happy he's there. He's not really doing anything, but like that is his butler's philosophy. He's very active for the one issue where like in his head. And then he's just sort of quietly part of the group. There's a joke about how he always has whatever supply they need. Like when they have to vote on whether or not they want to keep Cheryl, it's like, but Smithers has note cards. He's got 3x5 index cards. We can write down if we
you
vote
never
to
know
keep
when you might
Cheryl
need
or not.
index cards in the zombie apocalypse. So good. Yeah. Yeah, like it's interesting because with something like a zombie apocalypse, to make the book it have an emotional weight, you need to give an emotional value to each of the characters, right? So someone like Smithers does need to have a gravitas of his own, but at the same time you also need to be willing to kill off characters just kind of whenever, like surprisingly. And that is, I mean, that's kind of what they do. Is like Jughead is the first human to like be turned into a zombie, and you would think like, oh man, Afterlife with Archie, it might be interesting to see how Archie and Jughead, when they stick together and work together, like they can do this. But man, they're starting to have some different ideas about what it means to survive, and then Jughead is just immediately like not in this, and you're just like, oh, okay, huh. And then Ethel dies immediately, and then Archie's dad, and it's like, what is happening? Like they're, and then with the second volume being entitled Betty R.I.P., you can kind of assume that she's supposed to die. I don't know if she actually does, because we don't get to that bit here in this. But yeah, like you need to be able to kill them off, and for their death to have any kind of meaning or be scary, even they need to have that emotional weight. And so yeah, we get an issue like figuring out who the butler is, and it works. I now care about Smithers, and like, I know I'm not supposed to contradict you in public and all of this. Like, it's like, okay, you have your own thoughts on how this might work, but you're still kind of holding on to these old ideas that you are in a functioning society now. And
like Smithers never stops being a butler.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. He's never like, I'm just another citizen. I'm just another survivor. I'm going to let these trappings fall away. No, butler till the end.
Yeah.
Kind of admire
stuff,
it,
man. Yeah. But so, yeah, like they do a fantastic job with all of that. Something else that I kind of want to bring to attention here. Interestingly enough, a lot of the thing, like the smaller things that they do, especially in the second half of this book, are things that they also then go on to explore in the Riverdale show. kind of this like rivalry between Archie and Hiram Lodge is something that happens in the Riverdale show. This whole idea about Betty's older sister Polly kind of being the one that like she was the rebel. They are sending her off to this like insane asylum or something like that. In Riverdale, they end up going down this plot thread that there is a certain gene in people's DNA that makes them serial killers, and that's in the Cooper family line. So Betty might be a serial killer. Who knows?
What?
But yes, that show is wild. Hot garbage, and I love it. It's great.
It seemed wild from like the first 12 episodes that I watched, but like not
even the like how it gets started that like Cheryl's like twin brother is murdered, and there's this idea of like, what happened to him? Was it Cheryl? What's going on here? It like that happens in this comic too, and so it's just like there's all these little small things of like, I see you were thinking about all of this stuff in multiple different ways here. It's in the show, it's in the comic, and if it didn't make it in the start of the show, there it is in season 4 or season 5, right? It's just like, I see. Okay. Huh. Interesting.
From what little I know of Riverdale, having watched the first 12 episodes, and then just hearing all the like the jangle, like all the stuff it went on to do later, both of these stories seem to have a very maximalist attitude to them. Like, we're putting it all in. Nothing's off the table.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
Like this book, we've got the zombies, and then the zombies came from like a spell that Sabrina did that went wrong. And then her aunts, to punish her for doing the spell, send her to like a nether realm, this Lovecraftian nether realm where she has to marry like a Cthulhu. So you have all of that, but it's like, okay, I can see how these two things are. Yeah, I can see how these two things are tied together. Okay. But then the final issue we read, issue 10, not the final one, but just the most recent one that we were able to read at this time, is you catch up with what Josie and the Pussycats have been doing. And they've been vampires since like 1926. Yep. And I'm like, hold on. Do we also need vampires in this? How does this fit into everything else we've got going on?
There's so much happening. And like that is like, this is like the roller coaster ride that is this book. Because you heard me at the start being like, they go like full on horror. They mean business here. And then what would be volume 2 starts with this like Cthulhu stuff. And you're like, wait, what is happening here? Why is Sabrina meeting Dr. Lovecraft? And what is going? And then you see like, okay, when she did this spell with the Necronomicon to bring Hot Dog back, there was some kind of like it's implied that some kind of elder god Lovecraftian horror is what started the zombie apocalypse, because that escaped through that spell. And to kind of fix it, she has to become like the bride of Cthulhu or something like that. And I have to say, I kind of liked that issue a lot. Like at its start, I was confused of like, okay, so they left the mansion because the zombies were starting to overrun the mansion. So they try to escape to Greendale, which is where Sabrina lives. And then it just is like smash cut to like Sabrina in some kind of like, where is she? What's happening? What's going on? This issue came out years later. Like what you pick up with this? What is happening? But by the end of that, I kind of dug it. I kind of liked it. I was like, I've seen zombie apocalypses that start with a disease, or it is just like a naturally occurring thing that like one day they will just rise up, or on the eve of Dawn Hallows Eve this day, right? Like it could be some like spiritual supernatural stuff, or it could just be an unknown. Like you will never know how it started. But I haven't seen one that is like it was a magic spell that went wrong, that unleashed some like elder god Cthulhu HP Lovecraft. Like, interesting. Tell me more. What's going on with this? I kind of like that. And then
the final, maybe like the second to last issue that we leave off is the issue all about Reggie. Where Reggie, at first you think somebody hit Hot Dog by accident, but you learn that Reggie was mad. He was lashing out, like he like hit Hot Dog with his car on purpose. And so he knows this is all his fault. He knows that Hot Dog was patient zero. So he leaves the group. He's just going to walk into the zombie horde. He's going to find them, walk right into them, let them tear him apart. He's like, take me out. Maybe that will end all of this. And he walks. It's really eerie to see him walk straight through the zombie horde, and they all just part. They don't touch him. Like, they don't care that he's there. Till finally he gets to like Midge, his beloved Midge, light of his life, fire of his loins.
Yeah.
And
God,
like Sabrina appears and she's like, Reggie, it is you, our savior. If you want, you can have Midge back, but you got to kill Betty. And he's like, okay, deal. Right. I guess that's me now. Sure. Acceptable trade. But like, to have the zombies then not act like usual zombies, to have an awareness of like, this guy is special. He means something. Like they're kind of under some magic control, it seems like almost. That Sabrina can like pour it in from the nether realm and offer him this bargain and offer him immunity from the zombies. That's also new.
Well, so yeah, it is. They are regular zombies for the most part, but pretty early on we see that Jughead has some kind of, not autonomy, that's not really the right word, but he has some kind of intelligence still inside him, and not like Archie, it's me, I'm still Jughead underneath all of this, right? We're bros. It is this. He is the king of the zombies. In classic Archie, he has that like crown hat that he always wears. So he is the king of the zombies, and he can kind of order them around. And I'll be honest, I actually haven't seen any of the George Romero like Night of the Living Dead zombie stuff. So I don't really know what's in there. I felt that was more of a Romero thing. Just in the back of my mind, that felt like maybe something he did in those. I could be completely off.
I saw
in that, but
the original Night of the Living Dead once. Zombies just like aren't my flavor of horror. They don't do a lot for me. But at the beginning of the story where they're at the Halloween dance and like the principal and Mrs. Grundy are sitting outside talking and he's teasing you and he's like, they're coming to get you, Geraldine. Like that's a line directly from the original Night of the Living Dead. And I also like, I forget who says this. Maybe Sabrina says it or her aunt say it to her. But when they're saying, you got to let Hot Dog die, because sometimes dead is better. It's also lifted directly from Stephen King's Pet Sematary. I appreciated the direct horror nods throughout these books. There might be even more that I'm not catching up on.
Oh, for sure.
But they showed their work.
They did. But yeah, so he is the kind of leader of these zombies. But yeah, like we're starting to now understand is that like he's their leader kind of on the ground, and he's directing them to be like, let's go to the mansion. Let's go follow them this way. So in that sense, it also is kind of like this. Well, this like it follows kind of thing, right? I don't know, but like it is this. It's not a mindless zombie. They do have marching orders, but then they do have this like darker force kind of manipulating them behind the scenes. And I think because Sabrina is forced into this like bride position, she is the one that's like, look, I'm in a tough spot right now, but here's what they want you to know. Like, if you want Midge back, you like all you need to do is kill Betty and we'll give you her back. And so yeah, that's kind of what we know with all of that. And then skip ahead a bit, we get this like Josie and the Pussycats, like what's happening with them, and they are vampires, immortal vampires.
What did you think that one's that? Like it's a full interview with the vampire. She is being interviewed.
Absolutely.
There is more. There's so many different horror tropes in here. And that one is like the story of her and Valerie and Melody, and like at one point they had like a fourth, like in Destiny's Child, show up in their past. Following them.
What was the
Pepper?
Twilight? No, what was the Destiny Child's knockoff name that they did in there? It was like
it's like Twilight's Child.
Yeah, it was like Twilight's Offspring or something, some dumb thing like that.
You see them like get turned into vampires, and they've had to reinvent themselves into all these different musical acts over the years, which I'm kind of intrigued by this.
That was really cool.
I would want it to be its own story because there's so much more I would dig into. Like, how have the three of you stayed bonded after all these years? Is there any conflict with like the three of you being like the only people who like really know each other, can really fully see each other?
Yeah.
And like, I know you can't see a vampire in a mirror. I mean, just like, you're the only one who knows my whole story. You're the only one who knows the whole me. And then they have to be a different act every like 10 or 15 years. Like, how do they reinvent themselves? Like, creatively is really interesting. There's so much possibility here to be like its own weird story, its own 12 issues. But instead, it's like fit into this one issue here at the back, which is, I feel like there's a lot of that throughout the story. Like, I'm kind of intrigued by this, but it gets thrown in here with like 10 other things.
Yeah, and it is this like, they've been vampires the whole time. They are flying in to play the school dance to like go back to Riverdale where it all started for them. And they can't land at the main airport right there because the zombie apocalypse has started, and they're like, we're hearing there's like rioting going on in Riverdale, we'll have to like do a little detour or we could turn around. And they're just like, no, let's check it out, let's see what's happening, right? I was
just gonna say this is our like first look at like the world outside of Riverdale, but it seems like it's set back in time, like right at the beginning of things. I think
I have
like when we leave off with
to say on that.
When we leave off with Reggie, I think like after the Halloween dance where they went to Lodge Manor and like left in the next couple of days, like that group of Riverdale survivors have been like just sort of on the road, like traversing America for several months now. And then we catch up with Josie and the Pussycats. It seems like it is like November 1st. They're back to like right at the start of everything. So it is intriguing to see how are they going to catch up to this? Where have they been for the last several months? And like how much you don't really have a sense of how far anybody has gotten. I don't know where Riverdale is supposed to be. Is that New England?
Right. Yeah.
Where is Riverdale?
No idea.
Like how far? At one point they mentioned that they're in like Maryland or something. So I don't know like how far outside of this bubble they've gotten. Have they heard anything on a radio? Like, is the rest of the North America, the world okay?
Yeah, it seems like the Riverdale in this universe is located somewhere on the East Coast, probably more northeast, because they talk about going to the CDC in Pennsylvania. And it's like they're hiking there, which like if that's just their first decision and not like, can we find cars to like go out there, it seems like it's not that far. So maybe it's in Pennsylvania, but then the Riverdale of the TV show seems more Pacific Northwest to be aligned with like Twin Peaks and stuff like that. So it is just kind of this weird every town kind of thing. But yeah, Josie and the Pussycats, what I thought was really fascinating with that, to say one more thing with them, this idea of, they reintroduce themselves like every 10 or 15 years as this new act. They kind of switch up who is like the main person in the act every so often. I thought that was neat. But then the interviewer asked a really interesting question of like, but now with the rise of the internet, like, how are you doing this? Like, can't people just look up pictures of this stuff? Like, isn't that stuff out there? Like, what's going on? And they start to allude to like, that's a problem that we're starting to have to deal with. And I was like, that's kind of fascinating. Like, there might be it's maybe just kind of coming to the end of a period where vampires could hide in the shadows. And it is this like, there's been more evil things here all the time. You just didn't know it. And I kind of like that. So, it is just like, there's so many things happening at once. Cthulhu and vampires and zombies.
I feel like I said, the zombies in this story, you can tie back to like the Cthulhu and the dark magic, but then you add the vampires and like now, magic. Like that's not connected to anything. I'm like, either have it be more cohesive, and maybe it is cohesive, and they just haven't written issues 11 and 12 yet. Or I'm like, add in everything. Where is there a sea monster? Who's a werewolf today?
Yeah,
when will they meet a ghost?
Absolutely.
Aliens. They're saved by aliens.
God, I
do it
freaking
all.
hope so. I kind of feel like this is almost turning into a Betty and Veronica situation of like the world then gets taken over by zombies and vampires.
Who are you gonna pick, Archie?
The lone
Who
survivor has to pick one. Who's it gonna pick? And he's just like, I don't know. Gee, you're both great.
I want to take you both to the sock hop.
Exactly.
I've told you about Judy Zipper, haven't I? Judy Zipper, who sounds like she is an Archie Comics character. Google Judy Zipper, please. Google Judy Zipper. Look at pictures of Judy Zipper.
Let's see. Judy Zipper.
Judy Zipper is a woman somebody found in like a 1950s like yearbook or like a church community guide or something like that, who looks just like Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
And this is just one example of the many. Like, I found an old painting from the 1700s that looks like Keanu Reeves or Nicolas Cage or whatever.
Yeah,
I
here's
would
one
really
that looks like Christian Bale. Here's right, yeah.
I would love if there's an issue where we see like Dilton Doily on some message boards where he's like, I found this old LP in the back of the thrift store. There's no way it can be the same band, but doesn't this look like Josie and the Pussycats? Like, I want to know if somebody has like caught on so far. And maybe this current Josie and the Pussycats is like using that as a meme. Like, no, of course it's not us. That's just a Judy Zipper scenario. Somebody just looks like us.
Right, yeah. Something like that would be neat. I was even thinking of like Frankenstein, of like, can they Frankenstein someone back together? Like, can they revive Archie's dad if they like return to Riverdale and get like his head or something and like screw it on some other body and do this because he has some knowledge of what happened or like something like that. I think that would be interesting too. But yeah, it feels like a lot, but I also kind of like this. I like it. This is almost what the like Universal Monsters connected cinematic universe was trying
this is dark
to
universe.
do also, right?
This is the dark universe that Universal dreamed of. Archie Comics has to do it instead.
I'm okay with that. I want a universe where like that is the case, where it is this like there are all these horrors in different parts. Like there's the werewolf faction over there. There's the zombie faction over there, right? And like that ends up kind of becoming the drama of it all, the political machinations of it all. I think that'd be fascinating.
I think this is literally a Disney Channel original movie called Zombies, where like a girl goes to a new high school and like some people are zombies and some are like werewolves, and she has to choose like what clique she wants to be in.
Right. Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. Which also then fits like that's exactly what Archie is. It is a Disney Channel original movie.
Skipping ahead, that is my recommendation. Watch any Disney Channel original movie.
Good stuff. But I think on so to go back, because I said I also had something I wanted to mention about the like world at large of what's happening outside of Riverdale here when you're not in like a normal Archie setting. What is the world up to? And in volume 1, they sure made it sound like the world went to shit fast. Like that's it in one night.
Dilton
zombie
does some
apocalypse.
Math. He does like we don't have this proven, but he's like, well, according to like okay.
So in volume 1, the only like clues as to what's happening in the outside world are some broken like radio transmissions, stuff like that. And in that, it sounds like national alert. The president was like destroying things. He was already like, we've sent in the military and it didn't work, and like it sounds like the world went to shit that night. But yeah, then in volume 2, it seems like they almost roll that back and are like, well, there's Dilton's math of like, well, if he infected 20 people and those 20 people infected 20 people, like there's some shit happening on the Eastern Seaboard, but that's kind of about it, maybe, right? And so I thought that was interesting that they like it seems like they were trying to roll it back and have a possibility of like, okay, this is escapable. Like we can get on the outside of this and find help. Whereas it seemed eerily like the survivors of Riverdale might be the only survivors out there. And then in volume 2, we see them on the road and they run into other survivors once or twice, but they don't really interact with them. They just kind of hide. It's interesting what they're doing. And that I think feels like they have more story ideas down the road of like how this could break bad down the road. But volume 2, there was more to volume 2 that I felt was a disconnect from volume 1 than anything else. Even though I liked the Cthulhu stuff, the vampire issue was cool on its own. Still kind of confused with that. I like the twist of Reggie, like getting this command. Like they're on to some good stuff. But initially, that Cthulhu issue was just this kind of abrupt left turn, and then they just kind of abandoned this idea of going to Green Jail to get help from them, and instead they're on the road to the CDC in Pennsylvania. It's like, okay, that's a plot from The Walking Dead. I get it. That's what you want to do, to go to the CDC. But then it seems like that's also not the most important thing happening here. That's kind of background. Like, so it just felt like this like weird disconnect of like, what's happening here?
They haven't mentioned we're still traveling to Pittsburgh. We're this many miles away from Pittsburgh. Also, like, don't they know? Do they know it was a spell? Does like Archie and Betty and Veronica and friends know that it was a Sabrina spell? Okay, so they are still thinking this could be a disease. There could be medicine for this.
Because it is Jughead is the one that went to Sabrina, and he's already dead, so he can't talk, right? He can't be like, well, actually, here's how I did it, right? Which is not his evil machinations. He was just like, who can help? Like, who's the close, right? Like,
Jughead
Sabrina,
has no
witch,
machinations.
Magic, right? Yeah.
I've never met a character with fewer machinations than Jughead. It's like, do I want chili on these fries?
It's machinations or big machinations, if you know what I mean, right? Burgers. Where are the burgers at? Yeah, like he didn't do it out of malice or like dark magic. Finally, my chance. I'll show Archie. Right? Like it's not that, but that's. I think that is going to be the unknown aspect of this for Archie's camp, right? Of this, like, well, if it's not a natural thing, it's not a disease, what is it? I don't know. Some dark force, right? And it's just going to be this dark supernatural evil. Maybe they find out down the road with Sabrina, right? If she somehow escapes her stuff. What's up with where's Harvey? Where's Harvey Kinkle and all of this, right?
What? Yeah, she had like dreams about him, but we don't see him for real.
Is Harvey Greendale's Archie like in that situation? Is he like he has his own camp of people?
I think Salem's gonna come and save the day. Salem slinked away. He's a little black cat. He can escape. He can find somebody.
Absolutely. There was also an interesting note about Salem in this. They describe him as bi-curious.
Yes.
In this, and I was like, wait, so can he like transform into a person in this? And he was
a person. He was a person, and they turned him into a cat. He was a guy once, I think.
Interesting. I didn't remember that, and I was always like, she just has a cat as a familiar. Why are you telling me that this cat is bi-curious?
I know I've seen this before in like other out of context screenshots of panels where Sabrina's like, I'm a witch. This is my bi-curious, sarcastic cat Salem. That's just his brand.
Now that you mention it, because I have seen the first couple episodes of the Sabrina Netflix show, where she does have a friend who I think is bi in that, and like best friend, and I think like that
is a cat.
Well, no, but I think that's
Will he
where
become
it was
a cat?
Headed. I think his name was Salem, if I'm not mistaken, and I think that was like right. Well, I don't remember. It was years ago. I'm trying to say like I have this vague memory. I don't know what's happening here. So I think that's kind of where it was headed. Of like he was going to be turned into this cat that was her familiar, but I don't know. So. But yeah,
there's a lot more to explore.
The cat is also a person. There you go.
Is Riverdale still happening? I mean, or at least planned to happen once all strikes are resolved, or is it over?
It just ended. Their final season happened this last year. I have not watched it yet. It is next up. It's on the Kyle's about to start the final season of Riverdale.
What season is that? How many?
Season, like 7 or 8, I think.
Okay.
Maybe 9 at the most.
Wow.
I don't know.
There's a lot of Riverdale. There's however much of the Sabrina show they made.
Maybe 3 seasons of that.
Oh my gosh. You could go so deep into this world if you wanted to. I do admire the sheer depths of the Archie universe, both vanilla Archie and spicy modern Archie.
There you go. Spicy modern Archie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even the like something else that I remembered I mentioned like all the little like small things that they did in the comic that they then went on to do in the show. There was that scene, I forget who it was that died, but the person that like slipped and fell into the like ice and then fell into the water underneath. That was also something that happened in Riverdale too, because I remember a scene where Archie's actor is like pounding on the ice to like hopefully save them. I don't think they do, but I remember hearing that in that scene he broke his hand like smashing on the ice there. So just an interesting fun fact.
Yeah, it is kind of neat to see these as like testing grounds for what would become Riverdale the Empire.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I don't know if I have much else to say on this. I had a great time. There were some like strange bits of disconnect that I don't know if I liked Volume 2 as much as I liked Volume 1. I kind of would have liked to keep it like inside just Riverdale or Greendale, because that's like the Archie universe. Once you get outside of that, I'm just like, I'm
this
not
is a question I
it.
had for you as somebody who knows slightly more about this universe than I do. They leave Riverdale pretty quickly. Did you miss being in that setting? Like, did it feel less like Archie if they weren't holed up in Riverdale itself? Or is Riverdale a people, not a place? And just
which is
Archie,
what Archie is trying to get. I feel like Riverdale is us, the people, because there was something about the spell of like you only have the protections like when it's in Riverdale. There was some thing about the witches of Greendale casting a spell to protect the people of Riverdale back in World War II, and now that they've left it, there was this like lingering like, but wouldn't they not have the protections if they left Riverdale? Some interesting stuff happening in this universe. A lot of lingering questions. But yeah, that was kind of what I didn't like, is once it left those settings and was like, okay, we're headed to Pittsburgh. Like, I've been to Pittsburgh. Right. And like that works for like The Walking Dead or other zombie stuff like that, because it's a new story. Like it's supposed to be set in the world that I know. Right. This is not. It's Afterlife with Archie and his world.
It's not Afterlife with Kyle.
Right. No, it's not. Don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby. I like it. Yeah, I want it to be set in their world. I want it to be set in Riverdale. I want it to be set in in Greendale. What's happening with the south side of the like south side serpents of the Riverdale TV show? Can you expand it in that way? Because that's what I want to see. I'm fine with it including Salem, because Salem is in there with Sabrina, but also Salem kind of already has this like rich witchcraft vibe to it. It has that rich history there, right? So I don't know. Like I like it like I did not like that it went out of that stuff. I feel like it would have been a much better self-contained like graphic novel if you only did like, all right, here's 12 issues, it's set it like it's after, and like that was it. I feel like that would have been like, oh, that was great, because you can kind of almost read that first volume and just read it by itself and be like, man, that was a great like what if story. And then that is the problem with trying to like expand on it, right? Of like, maybe an idea we have is not the greatest, but also you're on to some really cool ideas in here too. So I don't know. You win some, you lose some, you know?
Yeah. It's hard to report on a story that is not done yet. Yeah, I think this is strong. I'm happy we were able to cross off Archie horror from our list. Now we've only done spooky Archie. We did this and we read Chilling Adventures of Sabrina several years ago. Eventually we got to do vanilla.
One day, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, let me see about bingo here. Let me pull up bingo in just a sec. I don't know if we have much.
No.
So this might not even be worth pulling up on screen then, because
we have not been able to update bingo in a while.
This almost could have a cat and mouse game if the like zombies were like toying with them in the right way, right? But we don't get that in here. We don't have a treasure map, so there's no like I didn't realize my own strength. Oh well. So not much to report on bingo. But yes, that means let's get on to recommendations. Melissa, for people who enjoyed this, what else might they like?
If we're talking any form of teen horror, I gotta shout out my beloved Scream. The entire Scream franchise is so strong. There are 6 movies. I think they're all on like Paramount Plus or something. Scream's accessible. Scream's a lot of fun.
Sure,
It's got a lot of continuity to it. There are various sort of reboot points, but it's all the same continuity. Like the same OG characters will appear. It's very consistent unto itself. It's got a lot of references and homages to other things in horror history. And it's very meta. It is the nature of Scream to be meta, a movie that knows it is a movie and is talking about its place in the franchise.
Right. Yeah.
And we mentioned Mystery Incorporated, which is the like fan Scooby-Doo homage series that you can watch episodes of on YouTube. But there's also Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, which was an animated series that aired on Cartoon Network from like 2010 to 2012, somewhere around there, early 2010s. This is a beautiful show. This is my favorite of any of the Scooby-Doo reboots. It's all the same characters looking exactly the same, set in one consistent town. They're not just traveling around in the van to all sorts of haunted amusement parks around the country. They're in one little seaside town called Crystal Cove. All their families live there. They go around solving little mysteries, and they start to realize something bigger and weirder is going on here. There's something up with the history of this town where it seems like there are bad events repeating themselves, and we're trapped in another cycle here. That's another story
would have been a great idea for Riverdale, right? Especially with this idea of the vampires kind of reinventing themselves, this magic history there. That would be an interesting thing for this book too.
Yeah. So it's got a lot of the teen drama. Daphne has a crush on Fred. Fred only loves traps. He has to try and figure out his feelings and know that he loves Daphne. Velma has a crush on Shaggy. He like really just wants to hang out with Scooby-Doo and watch movies and eat snacks. Velma kind of gets a girlfriend later. You've got all the drama going on, and then all the places the mystery goes to. It goes into also truly cosmic Lovecraftian spaces. And it's a really beautifully animated show, very moody, very eerie. I can never recommend Mystery Incorporated enough. And it's only it's 2 complete seasons. It is one whole story.
There you go. The first of which we covered right here on the review show way back in episode 25.
Yes. Long ago in days of poor audio quality. Which also right about that is when we talked about the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, volume 1 of that graphic novel, which is I still hold in very high regard. That is truly eerie. That's been one of the finer pieces of horror entertainment we've encountered on this show.
Very good. Yeah.
And I liked that these individual issues we were reading included like some sample pages of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina at the back. And you could see how very different they looked, but both effective. Like there's something about Chilling Adventures of Sabrina that looks almost like it's scratchier. It's like the
It's like a
pages look
brush
like
effect.
worn. Yeah,
It's
the
written on
pages look like they
parchment.
all. Yes, like they look like they are already worn out. Like this looks like something old you found in a basement, already new when you buy it off the shelves.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff indeed. Do you have any other recommendations, or you want me to start?
Disney Channel original movies.
Yeah.
My favorite is Phantom of the Megaplex.
Good stuff. Yeah, if you want more Archie stuff, like we've kind of alluded to, there are plenty of Archie comics related things out there. Whether you want the classic look, you want a newer, modern, updated look, or if you want more Archie horror, that stuff is out there too. Last week when I pitched this, I also mentioned Jughead the Hunger, which is more of a like werewolf story. There's also Blossom 666, which is like a single volume more about like witches and witchcraft and all of that stuff. And then Vampironica, if you want more vampires and stuff like that, which they even make a reference to in this. They call her Vampironica in this. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff. They've done a number of like one shots that are out there too.
This was on my mind.
Like Pop's Chocolate Shop of Horrors and
yes, ages ago when we listened to the audio fiction podcast Bubble, that was created by podcaster Jordan Morris, who has since gone on to adapt that into a graphic novel. And after that has written a couple of these Archie horror one-shots, including that one. So I hear him plugging these on his podcast, Jordan Jesse Go. And I'm like, I gotta read more of this Archie horror and then eventually get to the one Jordan Morris did.
Absolutely. So yeah, there's plenty more of that stuff. On the horror side of things, yeah, I mean, go check out things like The Walking Dead. That's been on television for a long time. They did their final season like a year ago or so, but the Walking Dead universe is still going strong. I know there's a new show focusing on Daryl Dixon. There's one that's focusing on Maggie and Negan, all that stuff. If you guys have seen that stuff from The Walking Dead. I'm also a big fan of Fear the Walking Dead. I thought that one was fantastic. They do a lot more. The show ends up doing a lot more like experimental stuff with the like lighting, the way it looks. What if we did this? What if the scenario was more like that? That show was also very good. But yeah, then there's also the Walking Dead comics if you just want more zombie stuff. But yeah, also if you want something that's maybe a similar like Archie vibe, but with a more modern take, but is not Archie, there's a comic called Giant Days. That I've read the small bits and pieces of. I've not read the actual like, let me sit down with issue 1 here and sit down and read this. But it is like a college age people, a group of them, all friends. Yeah, just kind of living life, and it is their like slice of life story, but it is the drama, their relationships between them, all sorts of stuff like that that I've heard nothing but good things about. I know it's at the very least been nominated for all kinds of awards, if not won a bunch of them. So I would say go check out Giant Days as well. But yeah, I think those are my recommendations. So, Melissa, it is your turn to pitch some things for this next week for Spooky Month here.
My theme for these pitches is Return of the Living Pitches. This is all stuff I've pitched to you in past Octobers.
Awesome.
I decided to dust off some stuff that I was really hoping we would get to, and you never picked. So these are some second chances at life for these. And I mentioned before we got started that as I was like collecting the details on these right before we started recording, I realized I don't know where to get one of them. So it might not be a feasible pick, but you told me to go ahead and throw it in anyway. So we'll start with that. Pitch number 1 is a movie called You Might Be the Killer. This is a 2018 horror comedy. And this is about a guy who works as a camp counselor. He blacks out. He wakes up. Somebody's been murdered. This keeps happening. And he calls a friend of his who works at a comic book store, and she's a big horror movie buff, and he's describing what's happening. He's like, I think there's a killer on the loose. I woke up and this person was dead, and I have blood on my hands, and I don't know what's going on. And she's like, okay, I know we're friends, but based on everything you've told me, are you the killer? Are you blacking out and killing them? Can you really be sure? So this is another a very meta, very self-aware horror comedy with its own like running kill count within the movie itself, like graphics that pop up on screen. And a lot of like flashbacks to like, this is what was happening when that guy was like blacked out. I saw this once a while ago. I remember being really fun, really inventive. And since it had the sort of flashbacks, it seemed like it had a good rewatch value to it.
Okay.
But Googling it, it's like you can get it with a premium subscription. Like you can subscribe to Fubo or Sling TV or have like Hulu with live TV added on. I didn't see it's not streaming anywhere, and I didn't find a nice and easy rent from YouTube for $3.99. So that's why there's like a caveat on this one. It's worth watching, but it seems difficult to get to.
Let's see.
So that is pitch.
It says it's not currently available in my location for Prime. Interesting. I'm sure you can. It might be on Shudder, but that was 2018. I don't know if it's still on there. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So it's
you might
there.
Have to figure something out. Okay. Pitch number 1, You Might Be the Killer. Interesting.
Pitch number 2. This is from the year when I pitched you horror movies and their remakes. And what we ended up going with then was both versions of Suspiria, which is one of my favorite episodes we've ever done. So I wanted to bring that back. My pitches are 1985's Fright Night and 2011's Fright Night. I have seen the 2011 version. It's honestly been one of the most fun movie nights I've had in the last several years. I love that 2011 Fright Night. And I'm really curious to see the original one. I think they're pretty similar, but I'd have to watch them both and see for myself. The description, at least for the original one, is teenage Charlie Brewster is a horror film junkie, so it's no surprise that when a reclusive new neighbor named Jerry Dandridge moves in next door, Brewster becomes convinced he is a vampire. It's also no surprise when nobody believes him. However, after strange events begin to occur, Charlie has no choice but to turn to the only person who could possibly help, a washed-up television vampire killer. So that's the description for the original one. In the remake, I know like they live in the suburbs outside of Vegas, which is a really specific setting. And when he's like, Mom, this guy who lives next door, I never see him out in the daylight. And his mom's like, well, he probably like works nights in the city doing something. Like lots of people are under sleep during the day. That's why his house is entirely blacked out and he acts weird and you don't see him. Weird people come to Vegas.
Yeah.
And then instead of calling a vampire killer, he calls upon a David Tennant plays a Chris Angel type TV magician who it turns out actually knows some occult stuff.
Interesting.
I don't believe I didn't immediately find these streaming, but these you can rent for like $3 or $4 a piece somewhere.
Okay.
I honestly didn't find any of these streaming. Sorry. Yeah. And then pitch number 3. This is from a year when I did a series of international horror movies. This movie is from Iran, or at least an Iranian filmmaker. Don't know exactly where this was filmed and produced. But this movie is called A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. And Google this one and just look at screenshots from it. It's all in black and white. I've heard that this movie's like very sort of weird and quirky and dreamlike. But the brief log line is: residents of a worn down Iranian city encounter a skateboarding vampire who preys on men who disrespect women. So this is like a vampire movie, but also there's skateboarding. And also I've heard it's kind of like a spaghetti western.
Interesting.
This seems like a really interesting mix of tones going on here.
Yeah. Okay, so to review pitch number 1.
It's unofficial pitch number 1, the difficult to acquire. You might be the killer. Pitch number 2, the original 1985 Fright Night and the 2011 remake of the same name. Or pitch number 3, A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. So really, you've got 2 vampires to pick from. What flavor of vampire do you want?
So I looked up all of these as you were talking. To be honest, something I don't normally do. I just kind of let you pitch them, and from like what I see in my imagination, like that's the one. I want that one. But immediately when I Googled A Girl Walks Home at Night, this looks awesome. Like the lighting in this looks incredible. The black and white looks just striking. And I think it'll be an interesting juxtaposition to what we talked about in this episode, the use of color and the lighting and how that set the mood, to then have one that is pretty much devoid of color here. It's black and white, which is scary in its own right. I think we do this. A girl walks home alone at night. Interesting. I think this will be a good one. This is from what, 2014? It looks like.
I think so. Less than a decade.
Okay. Yeah,
I think this was easier to find streaming around.
Can't beat skateboarding vampires. So, you know. Good. Cool. That is what we will do this next week then. I'm excited for that one. But I think that kind of wraps up our podcast for today. So, Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
I literally just set up an account on Letterboxd because I got tired of saying I technically do still have accounts where you can reach me on Twitter and Instagram, but I don't really update them. But you can always send me a DM there. I will answer. But I need one thing that I will update periodically. And I'm like, how about Letterboxd? I ought to have one. It's a nice place. All I do is talk about movies. It's a place where I can catalog every movie we've ever done on the review show. I'd really like to do that project.
Sure.
So I've done nothing with it yet. Literally set it up 2 days ago. But you can follow me on Letterboxd at Wilkywit, WILKYWIT.
There you go. And if you guys would like to stay up to date with me, I am at Yo Kyle Springer on most of the social media places. And if you'd like to follow us here at the Whatnauts, we are at the Whatnauts, if not at the Whatnauts official on most of the social media places. So yeah, go like, share, and subscribe. Plenty more videos for you to check out if you're watching this on YouTube. We would appreciate that as well. We're so close to 666. Let's make that happen. But yeah, this has been it. We will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.